Anthony Joshua's gigantic.
So big.
He's so big. He's so much bigger.
Bro, he got hit with a bomb
Yeah.
and breaks his jaw in 2 places. Don't do this very long, because there's a price that you pay that is not worth it.
Look, let me be straight with you. Is any of this actually worth it at this point? Jake Paul took a beating that ended the conversation for him. His run as a serious boxer, that's completely finished now. We're looking at a moment that changed everything, because this wasn't just another setback we're discussing here. One moment was all it took.
One punch to completely ruin your life.
Jake Paul just walked away from boxing in the most honest way the sport ever allows, and I'll explain exactly what that means. He stepped away by absorbing the type of punishment that literally closes the book on your career, whether you're ready for it or not. We're looking at December 19th, 2025 at the Kaseya Center in Miami, streamed live on Netflix for millions to see. This was sold as legitimate heavyweight competition with legitimate professional standards and legitimate real damage that you can't just spin into another video later. And here's why that matters so much, because after Anthony Joshua dropped him over and over during that bout and shattered his jaw in 2 separate places, walking away suddenly wasn't some theoretical discussion that content creators argue about online. It became the only sensible choice, the only direction forward that makes any medical or career sense at all. So in the end,
The big win for him would be that he was even willing to do it, and that he could do well for a little bit.
For a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually just deal with the fact that.
and I need to walk you through exactly what went down in there, because these specifics are everything for understanding why this feels so permanent. Anthony Joshua put him on the canvas 4 different times, 2 knockdowns in round 5, bang bang. Then 2 more in round 6, before the official finally called it off. Now this pattern is incredibly important, and here's the reason. This wasn't one surprise shot where you get tagged by something you didn't expect, and the announcers can say, well, he just got caught clean. This wasn't some random accident you can brush off with excuses about positioning or balance. What we saw was continuous, systematic breakdown under fire. This was someone getting dismantled step by step until the referee had 0 options left except stopping it for safety reasons. And you have to grasp something essential here. Stepping away stops being content or speculation or something people debate on social platforms when you literally can't defend yourself in there anymore.
Style that would align with a ring that size, a negative style, as we mentioned. It really comes down to the fan interest. Jake Paul is on a 2-fight stretch coming into this one, which really put his reputation on the line.
Then the injury happened that shifted everything forever. The instant where this stopped being about ego or statistics or comeback stories. We're dealing with a documented bilateral jaw fracture broken on both sides of his head. Consider what that actually means. Instant hospital transport. No media availability afterward because he physically couldn't talk, like his mouth wouldn't work well enough to make sounds. Surgery followed almost right away, then came the liquid nutrition that went on for weeks. Then the metal holding his jawbone together while everything tried to mend. And once you reach that point, stepping away isn't about feelings anymore. It's not about hurt pride or what people are posting online. It becomes clinical. It becomes a choice that physicians and specialists are making based on structural damage to your face, not something you can promote your way through or content your way around.
Next month. Don't do this very long, because there's a price that you pay that is not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. And that price is depression, deep depression, a severe brain imbalance that's going to lead you to addiction.
So what was he promising everyone before the fight? Dominance, swagger, the belief that he earned his place in there and could hang at that level, but once everything ended, he was tracking healing time like a patient, consuming his nutrition through straws because his mouth couldn't manage real food, and facing the type of reality that no social media strategy can change. You can't talk your way past structural damage to facial bones. You can't influence your way past bone trauma or breaks that need surgical repair. This is where stepping away stops being theoretical, where it stops being this vague thing people talk about. This is where it becomes the only practical choice remaining. 300 million plus.
In his boxing career. How old is Jake Paul?
I'll be 29 and
Look at that. So he's 28 years old, 29 next month.
Once someone exits that ring, unable to talk, unable to consume solid food, and unable to minimize or dismiss the extent of punishment his body just endured, the sport itself decides for him. Everything around Jake Paul shifted that night in Miami, because his physical condition answered every question louder and more clearly than any promotion or management or highlight reel ever could. There's no marketing broken facial bone.
It leads so many people to impulsive behavior. So many people become gambling addicts, drug addicts.
Oh, yeah. Addiction issues after their fighting days end. Yeah. It's you can only absorb so much. The boxing community wasted zero time. After that bout finished, and I mean, they started firing off takes. Right away, former title holders, credible experts, commentators who've covered the sport for generations, they all went directly for reality without softening anything. They labeled it a complete mismatch from round one. They said he got exposed at elite level. Some pushed even harder and declared his career totally over, done, no route back. And here's what caught my attention about their response. The attitude wasn't angry or vindictive or targeted. It was like course correction, like the sport was finally speaking up after years of forced diplomacy, years of acting like celebrity contests, and legitimate professional boxing operated in the same universe.
Just everything that's happened in my life, like I was taking L's after L, and I just mean that in that sense. I don't mean it just by like success.
Duke McKenzie, former world title holder, explained it simply and systematically without any theatrics. Jake threw wild haymakers instead of crisp technical shots. His foundation completely crumbled whenever Joshua pressed forward. Every single time pressure got applied, he tripped over his own movement, trying to recover position. He threw punches upward and whiffed constantly because he was just too small to connect with Joshua properly without losing balance and creating openings. Every technical weakness that had been hidden against lesser opposition, or aging opposition, or damaged opposition, got exposed under bright lights simultaneously on that platform.
Jake Paul tried to throw a shot, he would lunge in, jump in, and because he was so short, he'd miss. And then he ended up stumbling over his feet and falling over. Sometimes in that fight, it reminded me of, have you seen that Kung Fu film called The Drunken Master?
Michael Bisping, former UFC title holder, who understands what genuine combat looks like, centered his breakdown on something different entirely, and it was almost more devastating. He focused on how easy it was. Anthony Joshua didn't need to be aggressive in that contest. He didn't need to rush or gamble or hunt for spectacular finishes. He just used his natural advantages and timing to control everything. And here's the most brutal element of Bisping's analysis. Jake never troubled him. Not for 1 second. No damage dealt. No concern. No instant where Joshua had to alter his approach or acknowledge Jake's threat level or modify tactics. The gap in ability and experience remained painfully clear from the opening seconds straight through to the finish, and everyone watching felt it.
You know, when you're young, you think that you can live forever and you think that you're invincible until something happens. We also happened to Muhammad Ali. So there's a deeper story here, is that life's a marathon, not a sprint. So whether it's fighting, whether it's your lifestyle, whether it's money, you're going to be 30, you're going to be 40, you're going to be 50, and PBD, you snap your fingers, boom. Just like that, you're going to be 60.
Experts everywhere focused heavily on the statistics after everything ended because statistics don't respect promotion or storylines or internet followings. Joshua connected with 48 significant strikes during the contest. Jake connected with 16. Let me say that again. That isn't competitiveness. That isn't. He showed heart. That is damage control math. That is one person trying desperately to just survive until the final bell. Joshua never had to push himself. He never had to take risks or force openings. He just stayed patient, found his rhythm, and the breakdown happened exactly when everyone with knowledge said it would.
And at a certain, like that one that he got from Joshua, ooh, you know, say if you have like a punch card, you have like so many punches that you can get in your life, which I believe you do.
I think there's a specific count. That sequence was maybe 10 clean shots. How everyone framed the discussion changed immediately once those statistics became public. This wasn't a debate anymore about boxing talent or improvement, or whether Jake Paul had developed. It became a basic, harsh question of how long Jake could physically last in there before his body quit completely. The discussion stopped being about records and defeats and reputation, and it moved to whether he ever deserved that opportunity from the beginning. Whether this entire project was destined to fail from day one. He carried
216, but he's doesn't even have abs, right? At 216, he could easily weigh 190.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could make 190.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua's gigantic.
So big.
He's so big. He's so much
heavier, so obviously the strategy Jake Paul employed revealed everything long before the finish ever came. And if you know boxing even slightly, you spotted it right away. They used an oversized 22-foot ring, which is massive by current boxing standards. Constant retreating movement during every round, east to west running, rather than the side-to-side footwork that real boxers use to manage distance. This wasn't ring control or dominance. This was escape with equipment on. Grabbing became his automatic response to any offense, wrestling moves, inside a boxing contest, leaning into Joshua, clutching, holding, falling into the official whenever he could. Experts didn't label it smart or tactical. They labeled it precisely what it was: panic. You grab when you're completely overwhelmed and stealing moments, not when you're running a confident strategy. If he wasn't a content creator, people would respect his effort way more. The issue, and people noticed this right away, is that Jake began as a popular internet personality, and then nobody in the real boxing community respected him as a legitimate threat. There was no visible effort at moment to actually control rounds on the judge's card. No sustained attacks, no offensive stretches, no moments where he tried to enforce his game plan. Everything about his style pointed to one goal only: minimize punishment, extend the contest, make it appear competitive enough that people don't mock it. The visuals were absolutely painful to witness. A heavyweight boxing match reduced to defensive survival performance. Commentators openly criticized what they were seeing live, because it was impossible not to. This was someone running from embarrassment, not moving toward victory, and the opinion solidified quickly throughout the entire community and remained there. This strategy proved what everyone believed coming in. Jake understood he couldn't win. He was there to survive, earn the money, and leave with his brain functioning. And eventually even that final goal collapsed.
There's a clip of you on the ground after hitting you say, wow.
Can someone start posting content?
Joe Rogan stated what everyone else in the fighting world was dancing around, and he didn't try to package it nicely or soften his words. He labeled the contest a harsh wake-up call and told Jake Paul straight up to walk away. Not eventually, or maybe not after one more big fight or one more comeback attempt. Right now, today, and Rogan wasn't responding like some random hater or critic with personal issues. He was responding like someone who has observed fighters closely for decades. Someone who has witnessed what they sacrifice for punishment decades afterward, when the spotlight fades and the earnings disappear.
They put your teeth back in when they pop out like that, or are they gone?
Not permanently. I'm not sure. But this is wired closed for something like 6 weeks, minimum. Rogan detailed consuming only liquid nutrition because your mouth is wired shut. And he emphasized this isn't just temporary discomfort. He discussed long-term brain damage, like it was a countdown timer. Because in fighting sports, it definitely is. Every head injury accumulates over years. Every serious blow you absorb takes something from your brain that never returns, not with time, not with therapy, not with anything. That single shot from Anthony Joshua wasn't just 1 point on a scorecard that you forget about. Rogan explained it clearly as the same as multiple concussions happening simultaneously. One impact that burns through years of built-up resilience.
Is that 96 million or whatever worth you having brain damage for the rest of your life? And this is the thing, that this is, to me, besides the Tyson Fury's brother, you're going up against a real fighter. This guy, if that boxer punches you in the face in the street, that's assault with a deadly weapon. He's a trained...
The broken jaw became the proof everyone needed to stop acting like this was acceptable or sustainable. Medical professionals and experts made it crystal clear this wasn't just facial damage you treat and ignore. When your jaw snaps in 2 places, the energy behind that collision doesn't politely stop at facial bones. It moves deeper into your head. Brain trauma doesn't show up with breaking news the following morning. It appears years down the road as memory problems, personality changes, depression, decision-making issues that seem unconnected. Rogan discussed openly and honestly about fighters falling into dependency after careers filled with impacts exactly like that one. Betting, substances, drinking, self-treatment for physical and psychological problems they don't even identify. He said no paycheck justifies that cost, and he absolutely meant it.
In his lower jaw.
Oh, you can show.
So research backs this up completely. Mental health professionals and behavior specialists went deeper with their examination after the contest. And frankly, it was hard to watch them analyze it. They studied Jake's final minutes in there second by second. The facial expressions, the body language, the pause before engaging. They identified terror, fatigue, and defeat. And they weren't discussing promotional terror or marketing terror. They meant actual danger recognition, the type where your nervous system understands it's completely overpowered before your thinking mind processes it. They discussed how trapped he appeared, how his footwork stopped being strategic and became purely reactive. That wasn't game planning anymore. That was survival instinct, and everyone recognized it. But whatever that represents,
It's not
enough.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
Because in so many of his fights, like the Nate Diaz fight, he gets tired in the later rounds. In the beginning, look,
and through everything, the identical conclusion kept emerging repeatedly, like a constant reminder: paychecks don't reverse brain trauma. A broken jaw doesn't preserve your cognitive function 5 years later. A huge contract doesn't repair brain cells or undo damage. Rogan said the uncomfortable truth that people hate acknowledging. This is precisely how careers end tragically. When people ignore warning signs until warning signs force the conversation.
Like, that's a killer. This is a weapon. So is it worth the money? I don't think any money is worth that. The brain, like,
While professionals were discussing seriously about health and future implications, the internet went completely wild with responses. The mood shifted instantly. Shock became celebration. Relief became savage mockery. Viral content flooded every feed within seconds. Video clips played endlessly on repeat. People weren't just responding to a defeat or a knockout, they were responding to years of promotion and build-up, finally crashing brutally into physics and truth. Less than 10 years, he's faced no legitimate professional competition except Tommy Fury that were actual world-class fighters. Jake Paul, the fighter, disappeared almost instantly after that contest. Jake Paul, the businessman, moved front and center. And that's what people began focusing on: marketing guy, entertainer, content machine, internet creator who boxes occasionally. Experts said he promotes events better than he demonstrates real ability. And honestly, that could have worked if he just owned it and embraced that position. What made it unbearable for people was acting like the entertainment was identical to winning or credibility. The puncher's chance theory that his supporters kept pushing got absolutely destroyed publicly by anyone with knowledge. Comments labeled it complete delusion. You don't get a puncher's chance against an Olympic caliber heavyweight champion who sees exactly what's coming and how to counter it. That thinking works in street fights and backyard legends, not in professional contests with actual stakes. When you're across from someone like Anthony Joshua, size, experience, and skill eliminate miracle stories immediately. As retirement discussions spread across social platforms and sports media, Jake's own communication made everything worse. One day, he was making jokes about competing again within weeks. The next day, he was sharing updates from medical procedures, liquid meals, stiffness, discomfort, metal jaw fixtures, inflammation. The mixed messages were obvious and impossible to miss. You can't sell invincibility while simultaneously documenting recovery time and sharing hospital images. Experts began forecasting what everyone with common sense already knew. This isn't a brief hiatus, this is an extended break at best and a quiet exit at worst. The injury by itself requires major time. The shortage of realistic opponents who make financial sense requires even longer. There's no obvious route back to respect after a defeat like this, combined with that degree of documented trauma. Away from cameras, the discussion becomes even harsher. And this is what people don't witness. Financial backers begin examining risk rather than reach. Venues examine legal liability rather than views. Nenzem examine medical records and exposure rather than pay-per-view numbers. The excitement ends when the product begins appearing fragile and unpredictable in dangerous ways. When insurance providers begin asking tough questions, when the expense of another contest begins exceeding the revenue, That's when retirements occur silently without press releases, just a gradual transition into different ventures.